JDG. Going into this fourth game, I think the JDG will be especially on edge at level 1 because the level 1 in that previous game was just not where they wanted to see it. Remember, the JDG do have side selection going into this fourth game. Because of the fact that they lost the third, they will once again elect to play on blue side. So we're going to see things like we did in that game 3. The Gangplank is banned away second by JDG this game. So for the first time this series, we will see Ben on something else.
Yep, going to be forcing him off of that GP. He has been doing pretty well on it, even though Zoom had been getting the best of him in the laning phase for the most part. Last game, you can't really count. I mean, he started with the Sheen at level 1, but for the most part, Zoom has been having the better laning phase. But Ben, his cross-map ultimates have been great. He has always been a skilling threat on this champion. We do see Graves' first pick here for JDG.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be a Lilia or perhaps a Kindred response again. Kindred can work well into this, but the Jhin, big priority on this. Jhin has won every game thus far in the series on both sides. So Wongfeng going to be able to grab it, and he's been having a monster series himself.
Yeah, I really like the fact that we saw both Zoe and Jhin picked up before the jungler. Your opponent's already picked up theirs. You will have an extra pick before the second part of the bans come through. It's wise to wait and just get these priority picks that have done so much work in the series so far. So Jhin and Zoe over to Suning. Twisted Fate picked up for JDG. Again, anybody that missed the information when it came up on the screen in the last game, when we got to that end game point and Lumao's Pantheon had done a little bit over 5,000 damage, both Zoom's Volibear and Yagal's Twisted Fate were under 5k. The Twisted Fate was very underwhelming in the previous game, so Suning let it go through the draft again, and we'll see if Yagal can redeem himself on that champion, as Renekton will be played by Zoom now for the third time in the series.
I mean, it was a rough game, let's be honest. It didn't look like JDG's mental was fully in it for a lot of that game after the early game went very bad. But you know, before that game, Yagao had a 70% win rate in this season, you know, in this year on TF. So it's not as though he is a poor TF player. He definitely is very strong at it. It's not going to be full parity in the picks, as we do have mid versus mid. We have jungle versus jungle, but Jhin coming through for Suning, while the early Renekton pick goes up there for Zoom. Looking towards that, we know that it will not be the GP answer. Camille has been banned out as well. Ornn has been banned out as well. So I'm going to be interested to see where Bin does go. It could be something, you know, if he wants to go for that 1v1. Sometimes we do see these LPL top laners go towards things like the Kennen. You know, I mentioned the Quinn earlier as a really aggressive option. There's also the Jace that he really does like. So he's got a lot of options here, and it is double marksman ban over towards Loken. Interesting to see they prioritize taking away the Aphelios instead of something like the Senna or the Ashe, because Ashe has been the most played for Loken at Worlds thus far, and I think it does work quite well when you have this style of setup, where you have lanes that can assist your jungler, a pushing jungler, you know, who can invade and take camps away. You can scat out the Kindred with the Hawkshot, and most of these marksman versus marksman style jungle battles do come down to who actually gets the first hit, who face checks who. Because as Kindred, if you are the one getting the jump on Graves, you should always win that, and vice versa is also true. So the additional scouting information here from the Ashe is going to be invaluable, not only for the Graves, but even, hey, post 6 on TF, you spot that jungler by himself clearing camp, maybe TF then is prompted to use the ultimate, look for a kill.
Plus, if you have TF initiating with a gold card, follow up with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, if they're very well in sync, can do a lot. Now, this would be an exciting support matchup.
I would like this.
Hook City,
let's
baby.
Go.
All right, I like to see this. Thresh versus Blitzcrank. Plenty of pick potential for either side, but what's that?
Give it to me.
Could it be? Isaac,
it could.
Hold on. I think I hear something in the distance. Hold on 1 second here. Just a couple more seconds to make sure if if my ears are deceiving me. I think
you're being baited.
I think it just might be. Come on. Gosh darn it!
you devoted like 30 seconds.
I know.
To the lead up for that.
I don't even get my punchline.
You got played like a fiddle, Captain Flowers. You have been baited and outsmarted, good sir.
Oh no! Well, Volibear's picked up 4 bin into the top lane as opposed to the Jax. My joke gets no payoff. My punchline is deprived. Volibear is here.
Ruined.
Now, Last time, Volibear had a really rough time against a Gangplank that started off with the dream laning scenario. This time, things will not be as bad you would expect unless the level 1 is just once again some sort of insanity.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's always possible. We've got Blitzcrank versus Thresh in the support role.
It is definitely possible. You know, I do think that Volibear should win out in an isolated 1v1. Renekton can be a very powerful skirmisher. There is the ability to outplay in that matchup still. But Volley can be really tough for a lot of champions in those early levels. So will be interesting to see who gets the favorable laning phase this time around, as Zoom, I think, has been outperforming Bin as far as that is concerned. This support matchup is super interesting, though. Blitzcrank considered a strong answer to Thresh because anytime Thresh goes for that hook, the animation is long enough that you can then just immediately hook the Thresh. You can hook him during that windup, pull him in, and go for that Thresh. So it really often forces Thresh to take a very defensive stance, and Sword Art, we may see him just playing more for zone control and not actually committing to these plays, because if we see him go for the hook, Lu Mao, you can expect him to be on point, grab him in, and try to look to actually focus down that Thresh.
Yeah, we've got Aftershock on both of those supports, meaning that once they hook, they will be able to follow up and be confident in their tankiness.
On both laners.
Yup, cleanses on both of the AD carries, respecting the CC on either side. Summoner Spellbook also for our 2 mid laners here this time around, so a lot of versatility in what those two could do. Specifically around neutral objectives, Summoner Spellbook Smites have won games of League of Legends plenty of times before, but I think what you pointed out, specifically about the Ashe tracking the Kindred and what Twisted Fate's able to do to track him as well, SOFM will have to be very respectful of what this composition can do to try to keep him down this game.
Yeah, the global presence is something you've got to be nervous about. You can see JDG is like, all right, screw this. We're not fighting level 1. The jungler, as well as support, go out, drop a trinket ward, level 1, base, reset, grab the sweeper. So they wanted defensive vision. This was not any sort of step past the river. They had a defensive tri-brush ward on the bot side. They had a pixel brush ward up on that top side river. So really trying to make sure that they can just get into a normal game. JDG was favored in this series. JDG is looked at as the smart team in the LPL, the team that plays the macro style, the team that is calm under pressure, that has incredible team fighting. So they want to try to play a more measured game. I would expect them to be fairly risk-averse in this elimination game, and we'll just have to see if Suning can really kind of push the pace and punish them at all for that.
So fun fact about JDG in the group stage, when this team had leads at 15, 10, or 20 minutes, any of those 3 times, if they had a lead, they won the game, period. There is no exception. They had a perfect record with leads at 10, 15, and 20, which is very impressive for telling how the game is going to go just based on the early game outcome. So if they're able to keep things stable, if they're able to have themselves some strong laning phases here and get off to one of those strong starts, I think they have what it takes to push us to a Game 5, to take us to Silver Scrapes, and be competitive with Suning, who has had a very strong showing in Games 2 and 3.
Yep, and JDG in the games that they lost fast. And we do see a little bit of a wraparound here from Sorta. He's got to be careful about getting too close to that tower for a hook, but yeah, I mean, they lost those 2 games in group stage, and both of them were, bad early games, and then quick losses, and there's that windup, and Sword Art could be taking a bit of a bad trade here.
Sword Art loses almost half his HP, not quite, but the more important thing here is Loken also took a bit of a wallop down there. SOFM in the mid lane. Angel, he won't be able to get in range in time to do much here to Yagao. And considering Kanavi's here, I don't think they'll be able to get a whole lot more with this. Both junglers just showing up to try to assist mid laners with that wave management, and it looks like the lane's going to equalize back out.
Yep. The other thing to keep in mind on that bot side trade is Sorta actually committed his Ignite to it, right? So that is pretty big. And Bin actually takes 2 tower shots. That was so smart. Zoom stepped forward and froze the wave as he saw Bin going by to try to proxy that. So Bin was actually looking to collect that next wave and then get a free base. Instead, Zoom sees what he's doing, steps forward, stops the minions from moving up into tower range, forces Bin to take those tower shots, and now has a bit of an awkward base timing there.
Yeah, playing smart, observing very small details like that can put you in a great spot. But Bin has used his teleport. He's back onto the map. He's going after Kanavi. Now, he's in a 1v2, but he has backup coming first. And considering that truth, on the side of JDG, they will not try to contest this scuttle. That means SOFM can secure it, and that's a 2-crab start for the Kindred.
Yeah, and that's really big for the Kindred. Being able to get ahead of the curve is always going to be very, very important. And when you got both those crabs, you know that he already got a mark. Going to be starting there, as the first mark will always spawn on a scuttle crab. So SOFM going to be feeling really good about that. And Bin going to have to be a little bit careful because Zoom hasn't even used his TP yet, right? And, you know, you are in this situation now because of a misstep. You had to use that early teleport. You didn't get to walk back to lane. You didn't have that sort of a luxury.
Ooh.
Cleanse forced out there. Nice hook as immediate punish. Lumao was going up for a vision, and as soon as he stepped away, Loken a little bit too far forward and Sword Art able to punish.
Yeah, Sword Art making sure he hits the shots. With both supports being these hook champions, being these big playmakers, it comes down to you gotta hit the shots, man.
Yeah.
If that punish opportunity is there, it doesn't mean anything if the guy can outplay you and juke away from the skill shots. But Sword Art at least getting that summoner spell here nice and early. We'll see if they can punish. Remember, Cleanse does have a much lower cooldown than something like Flash, so the window is smaller for that punish. But they will still have a couple of minutes of extra playmaking opportunity here. You can see Bin already down about a wave's worth of farm up here in the top lane. He'll keep on farming up, but that TP discrepancy will be something we keep our eyes on. Does manage to take down that last little melee minion there before it would have got stolen away by the turret, and gets a decent trade off onto Zoom here until the very end.
I mean, Zoom is honestly just such an impressive laner. I've been constantly impressed by this guy as well as 369 throughout the entire year. How consistently they have been playing, for their teams. He's been such a rock for JDG really all year long, and outperforming Bin pretty heavily in this 1v1, and there is potential for the dive now. He's not 6, he's just dead.
Bin has no way out, man. See you later. Here's the Gator. First blood, and it's on Kanavi's graves.
Really nicely done. Easy kill on that dive. And you could see Bin's greed got the best of him. He started backing off like he was actually going to give up the play, right? He's going to give up those minions because Yagao was already moving. Yagao was missing, so he knew he had the right instinct, but then he got greedy for the farm. He's like, what if, though? What if I get 6 and I can survive? And instead ends up going down, and now Loken on the bottom side might just be dead.
Yep, this is that punish we were talking about, but it's 1 for 1. Sword Art ends up getting killed because of the turret aggro. Lumao trying to flash around and outplay this one. Huanfeng takes 2 shots from the turret. He doesn't hit his deadly flourish. That's what I'm talking about with hitting the shots. You miss the shots, the play is done. Lumao's able to walk away, and now SOFM at least secures the Drake for his team. But the other thing that needed to be pointed out about that top lane play as well, a couple of waves of farm completely missed by Bin. He is very far behind now.
Yeah, Bin is put way down. And the other thing about that 1 for 1 is that Sword Art died. Who cares, right? Loken died with the wave at the tower. That's the real punish there, is that the kill went on to Blitz on one side, the kill went on to Jin on the other, and they denied that farm. Yagao, nice sidestep, but may still be in trouble.
Yep. He gets a little bit sleepy, but there's not any trouble to follow up the bubble. So he walks out. The use of the summoner spells on point here. Let's take another look at the bottom lane dive.
Yep, here it is one more time. Sword Art pulls aggro with the Ignite, making sure he has that. Does get the Aftershock up, but then you see Lumao getting the kill himself. They try to look for the follow-up. The flash from Lumao trying to outplay the Paddle Star did land, but with the root missing, Huanfeng had to back off. He had taken quite a bit of damage from that tower, so they do force him out. Good job by Lumao to survive, but still a strong play made by Suning, and they get that beneficial reset. The kill went the way of Huanfeng, so he has not only the BF, but the Swifty Boots on top of that, which is going to be really helpful when you're playing this kind of skill shot based matchup, right? You talked about the hook accuracy, having move speed to be able to sidestep a lot of that is really useful.
It's a pretty impressive gold lead here so far for the side of JDG as Kanavi finds himself in a fight with Huanfeng here. It's gun versus gun, but now Sword Art is pulled into a bad spot. The damage continues through, but Lamb's Respite will keep him alive. This fight's about to get spicy real fast. Enchanted Crystal Arrows fired off, and SOFM's grabbing the kill onto the enemy jungler, but jungler for jungler, the sacrifice is through. Support for support will not be the case. Lumao barely survives, and Huanfeng will try to hobble away from this one. Beautiful! Perfect cleanse, but it will not matter as the Renekton has joined the fight. Zoe's damage is very impressive, and Angel gets the return kill onto Zoom.
Nicely done, though, by JDG. Overall, coming out on top. Sword Art trying to give his life for the added bit of damage, for that fillet to come through. He was hoping that Suning would be able to finish off multiple kills there. At the very least, this gets Bin back in it. Yes, Zoom made the roam. Yes, Zoom got the kill, but he has no teleport. Bin denies a lot of this wave, takes a plate, maybe 2 for himself. Doesn't look like he will get 2 as Kanavi comes up to answer, but gonna even out a lot of that. And this started off the initial play here from Kanavi, going aggressive onto Huangfeng. You can see the flash out of that hook from Sword Art. Sword Art gets hooked in by Lumao, and SOFM has to come in here with the flash ultimate in defense, but then SOFM is postured very aggressively, and right out of the expiration of the ultimate, he's not back with the other members on his team, so he gets smoked by the ult there from the Ashe. Lumao survives. They come in, slice, dice, flash. We saw the follow-up kill. Angel able to trade one back. Overall, really scrappy stuff, but JDG is getting the best of it, and a lot of this is off of the top difference. Zoom bouncing back, looking incredible again here in Game 4 after what had to be such a tilting Game number 3 where you were starting out through no fault of your own against a level 1 GP machine.
And I really like this early game from JDG because the gold lead is favoring them so much. Nearly 2,000 as Angel uses a heal to barely get out of the way of the Enchanted Crystal arrow. If that arrow hits him, he's 100% dead because of the fact that Lumao can just follow it up, pull him in, instant kill, no problem, nothing to it. But the mid lane tier 1 turret will barely survive. Now it falls, but the curtain call is here. Sword Art shows up, but he's on the front line, and after that stasis ends, he might be in some trouble. Manages to walk away. Yagao uses a stasis of his own, but Bin gets the kill, and Suning may lose their first turret, but they get a kill in response.
Yeah, it is that solo tower gold, though, and Zoom is taking plates on this top side, so still going to be positive play here, probably overall for JDG as far as that gold goes. You know, Bin made the roam, and now it is Zoom kind of cashing in off of that. You can see he is building pretty heavily for this 1v1. You got the tabbies, physical damage top laner, physical damage jungler, but straight into the executioners, which is going to help a lot of the sustain that Bin does have, both from his kit, you know, in the second W, that heal, as well as from the grass procs and things like that. So when he gets towards Cleaver, it's going to be tough for Bin, who looks like he's just going to be going for a pure tank-style build after getting behind early.
Yep, Bin's trying to be the meatball here for his team. Make sure that somebody on the front line can absorb those gold cards, those buckshots, and honestly just everything that the Renekton's going to be dealing out. Still, nearly 3,000 gold lead. 11.5 minutes into this game for JDG. Exactly what you wanted to see out of this team going into a do-or-die situation here in game number 4, being down 1-2 in the series. This team has everything they need to push this into a mid-game lead, really make some things happen. Do need to watch out for Yagao on that TF. We remember that he made a couple of sketchy ultimates in the previous game. He no longer has the stasis to facilitate that sort of playmaking, so until the full hourglass comes online, we'll need to be a little bit more careful. Serrated Dirk for Kanavi. We'll see the Umbral Glaive on the Graves here yet again. I like the choice. Everybody except for the Volley Bear is going to be taking a lot more damage because of that lethality build, but the Drake is up. Suning does have a lead in that department in this game, and they could look to extend that lead here a little bit further. They have control of the bottom side river right now. However, Zoom has teleport to join this fight if JDG want to contest this. The traps are being revealed. The sweeper also finding some wards here, but SOFM has already secured the Drake for his team. Now they're coming in. That's a nice pull from the Blitzcrank. Immediate kill onto SOFM as Yagao is low, but he's kiting around. He's just fine. Angel with a sleepy trouble bubble. The Paddle Star weaved around the Blitzcrank to find some critical damage and force JDG away, but that is still a Drake traded for a kill.
Yeah, big flash hook there onto SOFM to try to get something back. But unfortunately, JDG did end up actually committing their teleport out of Zoom. So, you know, not as big of a win as they would want. They were hoping to extend that play, try to get more kills on the back end of it. As you say, Suning does pick up another one. I'm not sure if SOFM ever got out of the CC chain to have a chance to actually use his ult because he did get flash hook. The silence is going to follow that up. The punch is there too. Yeah. A lot of CC going to be layered on top of you, so will be critical for him to go towards some tenacity or perhaps even a QSS when there's all this point and click CC. You have everything from the Blitz, including the silence that can deny you, the gold card, the Ash Arrow, the stun from the Renekton. Can be very difficult in situations like that to be able to get good use out of the ultimate, but you also have to consider the fact that you are a big source of consistent damage for this team, right? And he may feel that he needs to kind of run that risk to make sure that he's doing optimal damage for his team to be able to win this game.
Now up top side, both of them have just now hit level 10. Bin trying to keep this as close of a matchup as he can, but it's still a 20 CS lead. It's a little over 3 waves for Zoom on this Renekton. And remember, this is the champion that he played in both games 1 and 2. Had an impressive laning phase in both. Of course, in game number 2, they were not able to find the win despite that. But this is a champion that this guy looks ferocious on. Goes back to base right now, does have enough money to finish the Black Cleaver. This is more completed items than he had at about 30 minutes in the previous game, so things going much better for him when he doesn't have to deal with a 2-0 opponent at the start.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, it turns out League of Legends works that kind of a way.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
And
this guy doesn't even have a sheen. Pretty late.
Well, now we got Sword Art going in, but the follow-up CC is there from JDG, who force him right back over the wall with the flash, and with the enemy support on the run, JDG is confident to step up here. Kanavi with the dash over the wall, continuing to clear out some of that vision. Steps away from the trouble bubble as it bounces into the trouble puddle, and JDG with priority over mid lane will continue shoving this out, sitting down wards, sweeping out those of Suning. And you can see on the left side of your screen, the 3 richest men on the Rift are all wearing JDG colors.
Yeah, and look at the jungle difference already is getting pretty big. Yagao has a lot of gold injected into him. Obviously, some of that is the TF passive, but this Graves is already really, really strong. Again, ahead a good 40 CS, kind of similar to what we saw happen in that first game. And he does have the Umbral Glaive for the vision control. The Black Cleaver also going to be pretty effective this game for Renekton. He has double marksman on his team. Armor stacking going to be happening, from that Volibear, and potentially Thresh will be building up some armor. So shredding through that, always going to be useful for that Graves, as well as the Ashe. And looking for a Hex Flash play.
Lumao, of course, can't make a move onto SOFM because there's about 19 Krugs in the way. But he's still got his rest of his team behind him. He's still a big threat if they try to save this Tier 1 turret, which they won't be able to do. So now that is a 2-0 turret lead for the side of JDG. 4,500 gold ahead. Now, Ocean Rift means that it's important to stop this soul stacking before it gets to soul point, before you're at that do or die situation where they could just find a soul as a win condition. So here in a minute and a half, I fully expect JDG to be in position to not let Suning take this third Drake. Yagao shows up in the bottom lane, trying to stop Bin, clearing away the minions first and foremost, as Bin tries to disengage here. Sword Art is coming down to help him, wants to give him that lantern to escape, pulls him to safety. Yagao could try to follow with the ulti, but nobody else is close enough to help him, and he's almost out of mana, so seems like he would be teleporting to his own death. Opts not to do that.
Yeah, nice roam from Sword Art to be able to protect the Volibear there and get the TF ultimate out, because TF ult won't be up for this dragon fight now, which can be impactful. Going to be harder for him to follow up on any sort of plays. But as you say, this is the Ocean Rift. This is the potential Ocean Soul here. If Suning can grab this dragon, they do have a true frontliner this game. They're going to have the volley, building into this really tanky bear. And if he can get towards that Ocean Soul, he's going to become incredibly difficult for his opponents to deal with. You can see SOFM did decide to make a pit stop for the QSS, as I had been talking about earlier, because there is so much CC. It's going to be so difficult for him to get a high-value ultimate otherwise, and he's just feeling like he needs to be there for that utility. But JDG pushing in mid lane. Bot lane tower is going to be theirs as well, and Lumao threatening with a hook.
Lumao going after it. Nice sidestep from Angel, keeping himself away from the clutches of the Blitzcrank. Lumao stepping out of the range of the curtain call in time to avoid the third and fourth shots. That fourth bullet isn't too intimidating when he's not so far ahead, when his opponent is also still at full HP, so you get no execution damage. Suning, however, does have control over the bottom side river, but remember, this is a 5,500 gold lead for JDG. Yagao with the flash into the gold card, but Lumao's already at 1/3. Lumao is locked down. Lumao is making a big pull, but it's only on to the enemy tank. Meanwhile, Kanavi is still in the pit, still looking to deal with the Ocean Drake. Zoom's coming around from behind. Zoom's able to find the damage down to SOFM. Kanavi's already going to be killed. That could be huge. Zoom is very big. He tries to get himself away, but the Deadly Flourish lives up to his name and locks him down. It's a double kill to Huanfeng. It's Suning winning a fight when it looks like they have no business winning a fight. A triple kill for Huanfeng. He wants to keep going, but the Flourish is not deadly enough. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble will not put Blitzcrank down from a nap, but Angel is still looking for a kill. That was such a huge win for Suning to keep themselves in this game.
And such thin margins there to be able to win out on this fight when you're so far behind in gold was incredible. The skirmishing ability of these two teams really being showcased here, as they even get the tower off the back of it. They are now at Soul Point. This is a very realistic way to win this game. So Yagao flashes in, they force out the QSS, so it was always going to be a play to burst down SOFM, and now you have to track when Volley goes for the engage. On the other side, Zoom comes back in, flashes onto SOFM, but there's no follow-up. They needed to kill him in this stun before the ultimate comes through. But no one is in position because Yagao is already getting pushed out of the top side. Loken and Lumao are so low, they couldn't follow up, and that was their window. That is what they had bet the TF flash on, as well as the flash from this Renekton. Once you don't kill off the Kindred there and he escapes over the backside of the fight, Huang Feng was untouched, Angel was full health. They are able to pile through and get so much damage done. So JDG had a clear game plan to try to target this Kindred and punish him despite him having QSS, but when you go heavily for that, both flashes from solo laners committed to it, you have got to make sure that that Kindred dies before ulti or it's going to be lights out.
Yep, and Kanavi dying early too in the pit. But now the TP's coming in. Now there is your ulti, but Yagao cannot find what he needs to find. He's in a bad spot, and Volley's coming around from the side. Bin makes sure they get a kill, but Zoom gets one in return. SOFM leading the charge, and Suning has managed to find two. Zoom in danger, now being pursued. Angel looking for a little bit more, but Zoom is alive. There are still 3 players living on the side of JDG, but Suning lost only their volley bear.
What a hook from Swordart. The timing on the TF ultimate was picture perfect there. He is hooked as he's loading in after the ultimate. That was just insane. You can tell how on point Swordart really is. He feels totally locked in this game. Let's watch this one more time. Look at that hook.
So
There's just
good.
no chance. And because Swordart has already dropped the lantern and Huang Feng and Swordart are stacked, and it's a frame perfect hook there, how are you supposed to click on the right guy? You have no chance to actually take a moment to get that perfect. So it's very understandable that Yagao wasn't able to actually adjust and hit the right person. They're stacked on top of each other and you're instantaneously hooked. That is just a beautiful thing coming out from the veteran, the lone player of these 10 who have ever been to an international event. And Swordart is really playing so damn well here. This guy has been really a treasure to watch over the last many years that he's been playing. You know, he's played something like 80 games internationally.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see him on a strong team here performing at a high level after all these years.
Absolute ice in his veins. The man keeps his cool always so far in this series as that tier 2 turret will fall. Suning now catching up to JDG, man. Remember, this game was a 5,500 gold difference.
Yeah.
5.5, and now it's down to under 2.
And it's Ocean Soul point. You know, that is really frightening because Bin, sure, he's been put behind, but who cares? If you have a Volibear who's building full tank with Ocean Soul, that is so much of added value. He becomes incredibly difficult to burst down. And look at the marksman difference. Huang Feng is having the series of his life here today. And he is 4-1-4 again. We know that this man can do everything he needs to do to take over a game on the Jhin. We have seen it happen multiple times already. And he is in a position again here to potentially carry this game and knock JDG out of the World Championship a lot earlier than anyone was expecting.
And I really want to compliment the draft. After Suning saw how important Jhin was in the first game, that game that they lost, they've prioritized Jhin since then, taking him whenever they can early on in the game, and I love to see it. I love to see that prioritization as SOFM does get the Lamb's Respite down in time, keeps himself alive. Now Kanavi's rooted up, but he's not in any real danger. Oh, Huang Feng, good use of the cleanse there. Wildcard sidestepped by SOFM, who is still just barely alive. That's a very important near pick, though, because even though they didn't get the kill, the Kindred now has 20% HP. Okay, up to a little bit higher of a value here. Bin trying to get away, but he's 1 versus 5. The rest of the team's catching up. Yagao makes sure he provides the CC. There's your chain coming through, but a nice unstoppable ulti to buffer through some of that CC now. Zoom could be in danger, and Suning are mounting their counterattack. Loken's already nearly killed off. You gotta block the shots, Blitzcrank. You gotta block the shots. Loken and Zoom both get themselves out, and now a situation that looked like Suning might not be able to contest the Drake. It's incredibly low health bars on 2 very important players of JDG. This is Ocean Soul for Suning.
They have to contest. There's no choice.
If JDG gives this away, the game becomes exponentially harder. The Renekton taken so low. The TP coming in. Suning with the Drake down nearly now to 0 HP. It's going to be slain by Huanfeng. If the man didn't already do enough this series, he just got the Ocean Soul for his team. Loken is down. Huanfeng's on a rampage. And boy, is he not stopping.
He don't miss, Captain Flowers. Huanfeng gets the Ocean Soul, gets the double kill. They are gonna get the Baron here as well, it looks like. And Suning may just have gotten everything they need to win this quarterfinals.
JDG, lossless in groups with leads at 10, 15, and 20. They commanded over a 5,000 gold lead earlier on in this game, but it has slipped through their fingers. Suning will nearly tie the gold up with this Baron take. Less than 500 separates the two squads now. And let's take a look at this replay of how they did it around the Drake.
He held the fourth shot. Look at this, the whole time. Held the fourth shot there. He actually got it with a Q, it looks like. He didn't even use that fourth shot, so Smite did come down, I believe, from Kanavi, but that actually just went down so incredibly quick. And I think it had to be the bouncing grenade from Huanfeng. So, you know, when that replay started up, I'm like, oh my God, he got it with the fourth shot, but not even the case. Chase is down for multiple kills here. He's on the IE now as well. You can see the gold lead all but gone. When you add in the Ocean Soul power plus the stats from the Baron buff, this is not even. This is not close to even. This is monstrously in the favor of Suning. Plus, you also have to consider the fact that the gold is where they need it. Bin is poor, but who cares? He has a monstrously strong marksman to protect. That's all you need to do right now. Everyone just needs to make sure that Huanfeng does not die, and you're not losing these fights.
I talked in game number 1, I jokingly said, when your top laner can say, at least I'm not dead, it's not really a bragging point. But that's all Bin has to say. That's all he needed to say in the bottom lane for them to turn things around. At least he's not dead. Can Kanavi say the same? I don't think so. The Deadly Flourish guarantees it. And SOFM is the one to pick up the money. They're going for the mid lane inhib. Nobody's there to stop them. Yagao's in the bottom lane. Knock, knock, buddy. You got to get home. We got some problems as Suning is going after the Nexus turrets. Kanavi is still dead for another 30 seconds. It is a 5v4 on the map. Sword Art with the hook onto the Blitzcrank won't be able to find the kill all the way, but Zoe's artillery will guarantee it. Zoom nearly going to be killed off now. Lamb's Respite keeps Sword Art alive, and Suning will take down both Nexus turrets. They are in a 5v3 on the map. They are in a situation to take this game, and Suning will take down their opponents from the LP.